Forgiveness or revenge? Such a simple yet deep question. In this video, I'm gonna analyze The Last of Us Part 2 and how this subject is treated. What does this game tell us about forgiveness? So first, let's give some context to the people who have never played The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a gaming franchise that takes place in a world of zombies. This leads people to only act in favor of their own survival, and so morals, ethics, and heroes are completely lost. In it, you play as Joel, a loving father who lost his family. He is given the task to escort Ellie, a young girl who wields the cure for the virus inside her. He has to escort her all through the United States to a hospital where some doctors will extract the cure but must kill her to do so. By the end of the game, where Joel and Ellie have get to know each other and now share this bond of father and daughter, Joel decides, in a selfish yet human impulse, to break into the hospital and kill every doctor before they kill Ellie. He saves Ellie and lies to her about what happened. He tells her that the cure was never a thing and that she didn't need to die. And so this act becomes the wheel of the revenge plot in the second game, where the daughter of one of the doctors that Joel killed seeks revenge for Joel for killing her own father, who had nothing to do with anything. So we definitely see a world that gives us two different human behaviors. The first one is when people are helping each other, where they work as a community in order to survive as one, and the people who kill in selfish acts driven by personal interest. It's funny that even in a world of zombies, the worst enemy are humans themselves, and the ideals of justice is what ironically leads to the loss of morals and ethics. Now I'm gonna give a spoiler warning for The Last of Us Part 2, because I'm gonna talk a lot about that game. But if you haven't known, The Last of Us Part 2 was released very recently, and it's getting a lot of hate and negative reviews. Not for its gameplay, but for the story.
That the game is not worth buying.
This game is shaping up to be a complete dumpster fire, dude. Like, people are canceling their pre-orders left and right.
I won't be buying Last of Us 2.
You have betrayed the fan base.
I don't even want to fucking play it anymore.
And it's quite fitting that both Halo 5 is dog shit, and so is Last of Us 2.
It doesn't fucking matter if the game is out or not. The story is still dog shit.
The death of a main character in service of a revenge story that ends up in forgiveness left the player in a very empty feeling. And it's because this story challenges our ideals and mindsets. Why do we think it's right? Why do we think it's wrong? Does this character deserve forgiveness? Or are her actions justified because of her poor reasoning and violent world? Are ethics and dignity an effective tool against a zombie apocalypse? Or is this sense of dignity only gonna get you killed? And the truth is that this is very relatable for everyday life. That's what makes it so meaningful. We may not live in a world of zombies, but we may have experienced before a terrible boss or an abusive parent. If you were in school, you might experience bullying or harassment. If you've been in a relationship, you might experience cheating once or twice. It's this aspect of life that's so important. It's that hurt that leads us as humans to want to see the other person even worse than ourselves. It's that desire of revenge, of seeing the other person suffer even more than what we did. And this is the whole aspect that The Last of Us treats. In a sense, what happens is that Joel dies because of a revenge plot of the character Abby, who was the daughter of the doctor he killed. But what's really interesting and striking is that even if Abby was the person who killed Joel and did the act itself, what hurts Ellie the most is that she could never live in good terms with Joel. When she knew about the truth, that Joel only saved her for her personal love, Ellie feels as if Joel has taken her life purpose away from her against her will. She feels resentment towards Joel, and so when he's killed, it hurts even more. She couldn't forgive him in time. It's funny that even in a world of zombies, we as humans still tend to see people and ourselves as immoral. We think that people are always going to be available for us. Ellie didn't forgive Joel because she thought he was going to be always there for her. And what hurts the most for Joel is that he took this resentment to the grave. She was so focused on the guilt that Joel deserved that she didn't take the time to say how much he loved him. And that's what Ellie regrets the most, is that she also feels this guilt for herself, is what ironically sends her into this revenge and murder rampage, and therefore becoming the same person as Abby, a complete killer. By the middle of the game, we switch stories to Abby. She kills Joel in the first half of the game, so when the game forces you to play as her, you get a very angry feeling. But the game tries to make the question in who is the real victim here. In a way, the real victim is Abby. Her father was a man searching for redemption, an innocent man who was part of the few people that still cared about humankind. He takes the hard choice in killing Ellie, this young girl, because it means to help everyone and stop the virus. It's unfair for him to die this way. And so as the game presents Abby as the villain, and when the time comes to play as her, the game tries to show her human side, the side that you as a player want to deny. It's almost as if the game is trying to justify her acts, and you are not okay with this. That's where all the hate for the game comes from. But see, a writer's purpose or a movie director's purpose is to leave the spectator with the feeling that he wants you to feel. It would have been very different if the game introduced us to Abby as humanly as possible, and by the middle of the story, have her kill Joe, really making you wonder if Abby is as good as you thought she was. It's almost disappointing and heartbreaking. And by this point, we have reached the end of the game. Ellie has left her revenge plan, she's living in a farm with her girlfriend, she's a stepmother, and she's enjoying life. It's almost as she has left behind the things that haunted her for so long. The last time she saw Abby, she left in a "don't let me see you again" terms. But guess what? Abby has returned and has been found. This makes Abby to have a human impulse to go and confront her again and finally complete her revenge plan. So Ellie goes off to confront Abby and fight with her to the death. But as she is about to drown her in the water, she experiences a flashback from Joel. She decides to let her go because she feels that that's what Joel would want from her. You could say that she chooses forgiveness. But what does this decision lead her to? When she finally returns home, missing a couple of fingers and completely heartbroken, she finds out that her family has left her, mostly because they didn't want to participate in this act of revenge. She was putting them in danger by going and confronting Abby, and she was warned by them, but she didn't care. When she walks in the house, she finds Joel's guitar, but it's unable to play it. Even if she still is grieving for Joel, she still feels resentment towards him, so she leaves the guitar behind and continues off to a place we don't know. That's when the game ends. So, was Ellie's choice so bad? She chose forgiveness, didn't she? So why is she so heartbroken and sad? What is forgiveness to begin with? We know that there has to be an enemy force. There has to be an action that was hurtful. And now forgiveness is the opportunity that you have to reconcile with this person, to understand the person and leave this hurtful situation behind, in a way to make peace with the enemy. But you see, the problem with this is that when we are faced with this opportunity, we want the other person to at least accept their mistake. In most cases, this doesn't happen, and you're left with a very unsatisfying feeling.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
But you see, this idea of forgiveness that has been taught to us by your parents or by your friends or social group only strengthens the idea that you are in fact a victim. And what's the problem with this? As a victim, you cannot change your present state. You are left vulnerable. As a victim, you feel as you don't have the power to change how things are. You feel as if the world owes you something, and when that gap is not fulfilled, it leaves you with a very empty feeling and in need for revenge.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
To explain this concept more deeply, I'm gonna tell you a little story. It's called The Only Person Buddha Did Not Forgive. In one of his daily meditations, there were a lot of people surrounding him, in which there were some children of a very rich man. The rich man was angry with Buddha He thought that his meditations was a waste of time, so he approached him in order to teach him a lesson. He was angry, but was soon overwhelmed by his presence. The man could not translate his own hatred into words, so he spat on Buddha's face. Buddha had a very extraordinary reaction to this so disrespectful act. He simply smiled and closed his eyes again. The man could not sleep that night, so the next day he went up to Buddha and asked for forgiveness. Buddha said no. How could I forgive you if you have done no wrong? The man explained, I am the same person who spat on you yesterday. It's me, I'm the same person. Buddha responded, the person who you spat on is not here anymore. If I ever find this person, I will tell him to excuse your behavior. See, what's so extraordinary about this is that Buddha didn't identify as a victim, and so the man was innocent. He didn't feel attacked by the act of the man. He conserved his own peace. There is no need for forgiveness if you don't acknowledge the action itself. Doesn't it make sense? If you don't see yourself as a victim, you may still have a position. You may still have an opinion towards this hurtful act. You don't need to agree with it. But you don't need to take it so seriously. You can now see life in a different perspective because now nothing can hurt you. And so karma is eliminated. There is no more need for revenge. So, did Ellie choose this? I don't think so. She identified as a victim, and so forgiving Abby was so hurtful. She still feels resentment towards Joel, and that wound is not healed, but rather is left even more open. If she would actually play that guitar by the end of the game, which symbolically means reconciliate with Joel, with her father figure, knowing that he did the best he could with the very little he knew, he could relate to him and realize that the love she felt towards him is more meaningful than the guilt. She would have forgiven him and would have no need to get revenge on Abby, and so she would be in peace. And it's sad to see that she was only one song away from it. See, Joel is not a hero. Joel is a human. He makes mistakes. He has desires. He has fears. He has very selfish acts. And fans are upset with this game because we see him as a hero. We have to see him for what he truly is and be in peace with that. Wouldn't that be more powerful? And that's the true meaning of forgiveness. You don't need to lose anything because nothing has been lost. Forgiveness means liberation. We do not try to seek why are we victims, but rather how can we grow from this situation. If someone insults you and you feel hurt, you will agree with this insult. When you forgive, you're not letting the other person beat you up, but you're rather not giving him permission to hurt you. You're not letting them see you as a victim. And that's what's so powerful. You don't need to see the other one with guilt. Well, you don't see that the other one deserves it, as you don't deserve it. You don't need to remind them about their mistake. Guilt itself is enough punishment. You don't feel like you have to bring justice, because forgiveness doesn't mean to forget. You want to learn from this situation, you want to grow, but rather to leave the situation in the past and not to carry it to the present. Forgiveness means to remember who you truly are, to remember your power, to remember that nothing can really hurt you, to remember that life goes on and that everything passes. I hope this reflection can let you see The Last of Us in a different way. Thanks for watching.